Hi, this video is about final expense insurance for your parents, leveraging your dollars with life insurance. This is Mike Wright with Foresight Advisory and ForesightLifeInsurance.com. We had a client a couple weeks ago that made me want to shoot a video and let as many people as possible know about this life insurance option. If you're financially better off than your parents, you can purchase a life insurance policy on them to cover funerals and other final expenses. This video is about leveraging money to pay for final expenses such as medical costs that don't get covered by Medicare, funeral expenses, and more. First, I want to go back in time to a real life example. I had a client retire about 20 years ago. She wanted to prepay her funeral so her children wouldn't have to mess with it. The funeral home asked for $10,000 to prepay the funeral at that time. I felt this was not a good use of her $10,000 because once you prepay a funeral, you have no control over the money. It's gone. I recommended she consider a $10,000 permanent policy, a whole life policy for $33 a month. This client had plenty of assets. Some advisors, including myself, because I was a CFP at the time, had the general belief that you don't really need life insurance if you have cash and plenty of assets. This client was a healthy 65-year-old, so this part of the video might not align with the rest of my video of having kids pay for a policy, but the strategy is the same and it proves my point. She paid into that policy for 20 years, so it cost around $7,900. And with that type of whole life policy, she used the dividends to buy additional coverage. I believe she currently has about 14,000 in death benefit. She no longer needs to pay the $400 a year, but she does because the death benefit and cash value pay her more than the bank. The point I would like to get across for you to consider is that had she died in year one for $396, she paid for her $10,000 funeral. That's massive leverage. Fast forward to now in this video. Let's assume you have a parent that's on fixed income, but you and your siblings are financially doing fine. Here's a strategy I use to help a retired couple and their children to get peace of mind and to financially get leverage if either parent were to pass away. I recently worked with an elderly couple that saved their whole lives, but the kid put the kids through college and all that stuff. After age 60, they had some medical problems. Their income was mainly from Social Security and the husband's pension. They had a small savings, but no real assets left after that. They were worried about this big expense their kids would have to pay if they die. They had a small mortgage, like $10,000 left, I believe. And even though their adult children were doing fairly well, they knew they had college expenses coming up and all that stuff that hits you when you're in your 40s. They wanted final expense insurance to pay off the mortgage and pay for the funeral. And if there were a few $1,000s of medical expenses, stuff like that. So they basically wanted $20,000 each. Well, when you're 68 and 75 years old on a fixed income, this in this inflationary environment, $150 a month is a lot of money. I think that was what both premiums were. So I was trying to solve the problem to help them feel a little bit better. So we were going to band-aid it and just put a policy on the husband. We let them take their time and think about it because, we don't push or guilt people here. Even though we probably should, because you never know when you're going to die. Well, while they're thinking about it, they had a maintenance expense hit their house. It was taking months. So yeah, they probably really couldn't afford it. I thought, what would I do if they were my parents? I asked if I could reach out to their oldest child, which was their daughter. There were three kids. In most families, you usually have one child that does, super well, someone's doing okay, average, and someone that might be struggling off and on. But then you never know, everybody could be doing very well in this family. The oldest daughter had a lot of money and she shares, I can pay for the funeral. I'm like, that's fine. Will that be fine with your other two siblings? She hesitated. Now, if it were my family and my sister wants to pay for my mom's funeral, um, which, my mom's all set and has insurance, of course, but I'd be like, okay, you pay for it. I'm joking. We would split the 150 a month for the oldest daughter. It was literally no big deal. They spent more on vacations in a year and maxed out their 401ks. They own real estate and plenty of money to save. So the daughter reached out to the brothers, and I really don't know how the conversations went, if they split the payment or not. But long story short, I just want to do this video. So if this happens to be a similar situation where you have older parents and you don't think they're comfortable, and they may or may not have final expenses covered for, anywhere from $50 to $200 a month, you can use the leverage and cover the expense to help them feel more comfortable. For example, the couple we worked with recently, the dad was 75 years old and less than good health. Let's say he dies in 2 years. It's 142 months and they have $20,000 in coverage. Funeral paid for, mortgage gets paid off. The mom is still going to grieve, but she doesn't worry about wiping out savings and losing her home. Let's say he lives 10 years. Kids pay 142 a month for 10 years. Dad will have $7,700 in cash and 20,000 in coverage. Another recent case study is similar to the family, except for the lady was younger and healthier. She was 65 and retiring. She is in good health. She chooses a $25,000 policy for $105 a month. Year 10, the policy grows to $27,000. She has $7,900 in cash for emergencies if she needs it. Year 22, it's 33 in death benefit and 20,000 in cash. This is very good leverage on her funds and gives her peace of mind. If you think this might be a good strategy to make your parents feel better, even for yourself, feel free to call 317-584-0133 or visit foresighlifeinsurance.com so we can prepare some options for you. This has been Mike Wright with Foresight Advisory and foresighlifeinsurance.com. Have a great day.